I was at Walmart and I was eating a tube of Pringles and I ate them while my mom paid, but I forgot to let the guy scan them, so I walked out the Walmart and the alarm went off and I just started running because I got scared and my mom couldn't find me because I was hiding behind the newspaper things in the Walmart. People called the police because I was missing, and when I hear them show up I thought I was a criminal, so I left my mom a note on the newspaper that said I went to Mexico to start a new life and not come looking for me, and then I took off running with my Pringles and ran for like an hour, and then the cops saw me walking down the road, so they pulled over, so I started running again, and then they were using the car intercom thing and they told me to stop running. So when I did, I thought they were gonna put me in handcuffs and take me to jail, so I was crying and I slapped the officer in the stomach and tried to run again, but he just held me back, and when he asked me what happened to me and I told him, he started crying because he was laughing so hard. And he just gave my mom $2 for the Pringles and he was still laughing when he left. And that's the time I was a wanted criminal.
One day, I was in bed. I was about to go to sleep because it was 11 p.m. I have trouble sleeping, so I put an amethyst under my pillow. Apparently it helps sleeping. I was literally about to fall asleep when, all of a sudden, I heard an ungodly noise. It was coming from under my bed. I started freaking out. It sounded like an animal moving. I called my mom in to look for the animal, but we couldn't find anything. So I went to sleep. At 2 a.m. I was awoken. I felt something on my face. That's when I realized it was an animal crawling on me. I threw it off me and turned on the light. It was a fucking skunk. I said, "Get out of here, you smelly animal." Anyways, I put the skunk in my brother's robe, and I went back to sleep. I was then awakened at 5 a.m. The skunk was on my face again, but this time, it was taking a shit in my mouth. The shit was oozing and dribbling. It smelled so bad. It was gooey. Yui, very gooey. I picked up the disgusting animal and threw it out of the 5-story house. It died. Turns out it had bowel cancer. Peace out.
When I was younger, I used to go over to my friend's house a lot, and his parents treated me like their own son. So like this one time I went to his house, we spent the whole day in his pool till night. So his mom told us to go take showers then go to sleep. So my friend took a shower first then went to sleep, so then it was my turn, so I got in the shower and the tub was huge. It was like hot tub kind of. So I was just standing there under the water for like 5 minutes, then I realized there was no soap. So I was calling for my friend to bring me some soap and he didn't answer, but then I heard him knock on the door and I said, "You can come in. Just hand it to me through the shower curtain." So then the door opened and I saw a hand holding the soap sticking in through the shower curtain, and I was like, "Thanks." Then in my head I was like, "Wait a sec, why does he have nail polish on?" Then I realized it was his mom. So then she asked me if I needed any help washing, and I was like, "I'm naked, that's weird." And she was like, "It's okay."
On my scary childhood stories. After my dad remarried, we moved into a blue house, and me and my stepsister shared a room. Right when we moved in, I already knew something was off about that house. It was just kind of creepy. I got weird vibes from it. Nothing really happened within the first couple months of living there until winter hit. Keep in mind, this was like during when I was 14 and 15. Me and my stepsister's room was right below the attic, and at night we used to hear footsteps up there. These weren't footsteps coming from an animal, they were more footsteps coming from heavy boots hitting the ground. I told my dad about it, and so he had an exterminator come over and check it out. When the exterminator came, he found no animals up there and no holes in which animals could get through. But that didn't stop the footsteps every single night. My dad didn't want me and my sister going up there, so one day when he was gone, we went up there by ourselves and found some really creepy things. Stay tuned for part 2. This is part 2 of the attic series. After the exterminator came and found no animals or places where animals could get into, me and my stepsister decided to go up into the attic after my dad had left. When we went up there, it was filthy. The first thing that we noticed were hangers, and they were hanging clothes and belts from the ceiling. The weird thing is, the clothing didn't look that gross, and it looked like it hadn't been up there for very long. The energy up there just felt very intense, and we wanted to get out of there right away. The footsteps didn't stop after the exterminator came, or after we went up there. We believe after we went up there, we made the spirit angry because weird things started to happen. The lights in the hallway used to turn on and off all the time, even though no one was upstairs because my parents lived downstairs. There'd be footsteps in the hallway, and when we would check, no one would be there. I can't fit everything in 60 seconds, so stay tuned for part 3. This is part 3 of the attic series. One night around 2 o'clock, my brother's door slammed. Take for granted he wasn't home, and then all of the lights in the entire upstairs turned off all at once. A couple seconds later, we heard this old man say hello outside of our door. We started screaming at the top of our lungs, and my dad came upstairs. He turned all the lights back on for us, and once he went back downstairs, the lights turned back off. We also used to sneak out of our windows a lot and leave them open, so when we got back, we could just climb right through, but when we'd come back, they would be shut. Our beds were pretty much right next to each other. There was just a little walkway in between, and if one of us would wake up in the middle of the night, we could feel a presence standing over us. The footsteps in the attic also never stopped. Comment if you want to hear more scary stories.
Once upon a time, there was a kid called Nancy. Nancy was really bored at home, so she decided to order some McDonald's. She ordered McDonald's, she ordered chicken nuggets and a burger. A couple hours later, her food came and she started eating the food. Then out of nowhere, Boris Johnson jumped out of her curtains. He walked up to Nancy and stole her burger and ate it. Nancy got really angry, so she punched Boris Johnson in the belly. Boris Johnson got really angry and turned into a giraffe and ate Nancy. The end.
My younger brother to tell a story, so enjoy the story.
Once there was a boy called Jim. Jim was from the future and he loved playing on his PlayStation 59. His favorite game was FIFA 135. Once a monkey came. Jim was like, "Hi, monkey, you smell like my fart." So then the monkey ate Jim. His mum was looking at Jim because she was about to call Jim for food. And then she saw the monkey transform
Okay,
into
that's enough. You can go now.
Donald Trump.
Thank you for the wholesome story. Bye. First story starts when I was 2. I don't remember it much, but my parents have told me this multiple times. We lived in this little white house. It was very old. My parents used to always hear me laughing and playing in my room with someone, but there was no one in my room. When they asked who I was talking to, I told them it was a little boy named Omar. They thought it was just an imaginary friend, but now that I think back on it, when I was 3 and 4, I did see someone. He was always very kind to me. I would play Barbies and he would play with me. He would draw me pictures. I would leave my books out for him so he could read while I was at preschool. I would tell him about my days and he would tell me about his. But things started to get really weird once my brother was born, and that is when my parents started to see him too. They believe that this is because he wanted to be the only little boy in the house. Stay tuned for part 2. Here is part 2 of the series of the little boy. When my brother was born, my parents used to sense and see the little boy as well. My mom used to feel his energy sitting in the rocking chair. My brother's mechanical toys used to just start making noise. He started to show up less and less in my room, and every time he would, he kind of scared me. He wasn't himself anymore. He was mad, angry, everything. My parents believe it's just because he wanted to be seen and he was lonely, and now that I had a little brother, I wasn't paying as much attention to the little boy. My mom would wake up to my brother crying in the middle of the night and go check on him, and she would sense something standing next to her. Weeks later, we moved out of that house due to a shooting in our backyard. My old nanny, who lived across the street, told us after we moved out, she would always see something in the window of my room.
On August 3rd, 2017, the bodies of a 69-year-old man and a 38-year-old man were found by a neighbor. The two of them seemed to have died while enjoying dinner together. When first investigating, police assumed they must have died of food poisoning. But when the toxicology report came back clear, that theory was thrown out the window. From there, it quickly turned into a homicide case, but who killed these two men and why? Police found no signs of forced entry and had no reason to believe that anyone would want them dead. After some time passed, doctors were finally able to determine what the cause of death was, and it wasn't at all what anyone was thinking. During their dinner together, the 69-year-old man bit off more than he could chew and began choking on a piece of steak. He could have easily been saved by the 38-year-old man, except for the fact that he was too busy dying from a heart attack that was triggered by seeing his lifelong friend slowly choking to death on a piece of steak.
This is why you should always check under your bed. A little kid named Caleb was getting ready for bed, decided to go brush his teeth. He went to the bathroom, brushed his teeth, and told his mom goodnight like usual. Caleb climbed into bed and watched TV until he fell asleep. Caleb then wakes up in the middle of the night screaming for his mom. His mom, startled, jolts into the room and asks Caleb why is he screaming. Caleb says, "Mr. Bones won't let me sleep." His mom says, "Mr. Bones? That was my monster's name when I was your age." She then laughs and says, "Maybe he's here for me and not you." The lights shut off and the door slammed. Caleb stops and stares and said, "He told me the same thing." If you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure to like and follow.
Have you ever seen someone with extremely long hair? Well, a man from Yamata Village in Japan saw a woman with very long hair, nearly down to her knees, but things were much stranger than they seemed. He was walking down a narrow street when this woman approached him, and as he walked closer, he realized that she'd been smiling the whole time. But this wasn't a normal, friendly smile. There was something strange about it that made him feel creeped out, but he smiled back anyways because he found her beautiful. This would be his last mistake.
In that moment, her hair rose up and stuck to him. Strands of hair hooked onto his clothes. He ran as fast as he could, terrified. He got home quickly, locked the door, but couldn't fall asleep all night. The next morning, he felt a bit better, so he opened the door to try to go to work, but he saw that on the other side, his door was covered in scratches. He had run into Hariona, the long-haired woman from Japanese urban legend whose hair can turn into hooks. She's also known as the Smiling Woman, as she usually smiles at people from the shadows and also specifically targets men who smile back at her. Comment below what you would do if you ran into her, and follow to see more.
So, I'm really convinced that there's some entity connected to me. So at first, I've always just thought my house is haunted. I just have a haunted house. That was up until I started having paranormal experiences everywhere I went. So the other night, I slept over at one of my friend's houses. And around the time this happened, I was the only one awake, and I was also the only person in the basement. So I'm laying on the air mattress watching YouTube, whatever. I'm just laying down there chilling watching YouTube, and I start hearing little taps on the ceiling. Almost like somebody was walking but tapping. It was really weird. So I kind of ignored it. I didn't think anything of it. And that was until I looked at the chair that was sitting right next to the air mattress and noticed it had moved and was now facing my bed. Almost like something was sitting in the chair and watching me.
I was laying in bed one night. It was pitch black because we had just moved in, so all you can see is the light creeping